American flag T-shirt.
There you go.
Seth, did you get a chance to review the minutes of the September 26th meeting?
I did. They seem fine to me.
Okay. I only have one Scribner's error. It's on the third paragraph from the bottom. It said Fran reported there are 2 streetlights out, and it should be will instead of with, be fixed by Aiden.
Fran?
Sure thing.
Well, does everybody see it?
Yeah.
Okay. So I'll accept a motion to accept the minutes with that correction.
So moved.
I'll second that. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Ray?
Okay. This is the statement of our financial results through the first quarter of fiscal 2023, month ended September 30th, 2022. Overall revenue is slightly ahead of target at 1.159 million, but it's down from last year. The target for September is 25%. That's 1/4 of the full year budget. Expenditures are also slightly ahead of target, but this is primarily due to the annual payments that we incur in the first quarter. Looking at revenue, tax collections for the current year are on target, but less than last year, despite levies being the same from year to year. Principal and interest, or penalty and interest, and lien payments are well above budget and about the same. All revenue performance in that area, just a little bit above target. Collections for water rates and meters is also on target, but lower than last year. All other water department categories, antenna, solar, and miscellaneous are ahead of target and last year at the same time. Ambulance receipts are substantially ahead of target, but not as high as last year. All other revenue categories are on target due to higher interest and some unbudgeted receipts. On the expenditure side, as I said, there are a couple of annual expenditures which tend to distort the overall performance comparisons. 2 of these are general liability insurance and pension contributions. So while overall expenditures are at 27% and above the target of 25%, that variance is readily understandable. Prudential expenses for salaries and all other non-insurance areas are below budget. Fire department salaries are slightly ahead of target and at the same time as last year. And what we find in most of the departments is we have 1 more payroll in this period than we did last year in the comparable period. So we'll see that salaries are up in just about every department, but they're all still within the budget target. While the fire department expenditures are on target, there's a couple of areas, particularly vehicle maintenance, which talking with the chief, there's some catch-up work to be done in that area, and those are running slightly ahead of target in that line item alone. Water department is higher than last year. Again, number of payrolls affect salaries. The expense categories are all below, with the exception of electricity and chemical usage, which is at 27% versus 25, a minor variance. Talking with Chris, he said that they're using more chemicals this year to improve water quality, and they're also being impacted, as I think was mentioned at the last meeting, by the freight component of chemicals. The only other one of interest is the medical option, which stands at 27% of target. What happened in that area is it appears we have a possible budget deficit coming at the end of the year within that line item, but not within the article. We based the 23 budget on what the budget was for last year and not what the actual expenditures were. And we had a late addition to last year's medical option program, which generated a variance last year. It'll carry over next year. But again, as I said, we'll be able to accommodate that within the article. So there'll be no reportable deficit. The only other area is transfers, and we're scheduling that for this little activity in articles, such as the payment for the library and some expenditures on the fire station improvement. Are there any questions?
I had a question. It wasn't in this, but it was on the expenditure ledger that Lisa sent out, and there seemed to be a large jump in telephone costs. Have they raised their rates or?
So I don't have an answer for that, Fran. I'll
Okay.
get back to you on that.
Okay. Any other questions for Ray on?
No, I don't have any questions.
Did you spoke the other day something about time for the assessor to come? Do we have a date for him?
No, I don't have a date as yet. Haven't heard. They haven't posted values yet, which means that the state has not approved the values yet.
Okay.
So once they approve the values, then they'll start setting the schedule.
Okay.
Ray, just so you know, they just got their approval.
Oh, they did?
They did, yes. I don't know if it was today or Friday.
Certify the tax rate last year. Was it in December?
Yeah, it was first week in December, I think, last year. So we'll probably be first or second week in November. I
Okay.
would guess by the time they get everything scheduled out. Would you agree, Chuck?
Yeah. When you hear, I have to publish it in the paper. So let me know.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. As soon as we get it agreed, I'll try to circulate the dates. And while we're at it, what would be the preference? A Monday date or some other day of the week? It's a
Mondays are fine for
half-hour
me.
meeting.
Doesn't really
doesn't really matter.
though. If it can be more expediently done at a different day of the week, that's fine
I
for
think,
me.
I think,
I can make myself available.
I think we need to accommodate the assessor as much as possible. He has a lot to do.
Okay. I will
So-
let you know.
Okay. Did you want to say anything about the ethics training that you sent around, that information, or?
It just appeared to me that it would be less problem for us down the road if we signed up for the state system. I think if we say that we're going to use our own system, which is probably at this stage in a paper analog system, we'll probably have to answer questions repeatedly about demonstrating who's signed up, who's passed the ethics questionnaire and who hasn't. So I think it'd just be easier in the long run to accommodate the state.
Okay. Okay, all right. We had an open meeting law complaint filed against us last year. I don't exactly remember when, some time ago, and got the result. And it was for an executive session that we held, which the Attorney General's office didn't say that, said that the purpose wasn't correct for an open meeting law for an executive session. So I was at fault at that. I also wanted to let you know, if you read the letter, that the determination that she sent, she said that she requested 3 or 4 times to get copies of the minutes of the executive session. I never got those emails. It was sent to my fire district email, and I had problems with that email longer than I thought I had. And I had it fixed by Sean at the fire department in September. They weren't coming through, but that's all. You know, we don't have any assignments to redo the open meeting law, less training or anything like that. Freedom Hall is busy with people wanting to use it. I've had 3 more requests in the past 2 days for a baby shower for 60 people. It seems like a lot. A get together after a funeral, and what was the third thing? A surprise party, and there was one more. So there, and last weekend the High Ground Golf Course borrowed some of our tables and chairs for a charity event that they held. So it's staying busy.
Question about Freedom Hall, just briefly. How much do we charge now for the use of the hall?
If you're a
Is it
resident,
free?
no,
I didn't
free
think so.
to nonprofits like the library, the Cahoon. I do ask them to, make a donation. But if they're doing something that they're making money on them, that it's $50. If you don't live in the district, then it's $100. And that's something else I wanted to talk about. We have the AA people that meet there twice a week. That started at the beginning of the pandemic, when they lost their places to meet down in Dennis, which is where they're from. I've never asked them for a donation or charged them anything. They get 5 stars as users of the hall. They leave it just exactly the way they found it, so that's good. But I didn't know if we should, start asking them for a donation, considering the cost of electricity and gas and
I don't know. I suppose so. I was just thinking, the reason I asked how much it was, because, it's a well-used place and it's, people like it. And I was just wondering if the costs of the maintenance and upkeep and the use, as you say, electricity and gas, is it still offset by the $50 or whatever? Not that I want, obviously, because it's a public building and we want people to use it in the fire district, but relative to everything else, should it be slightly higher?
We've talked about that in the past. I think, certainly $24,000 is set aside every year for Freedom Hall. And certainly the renters don't cover that. But I just have, basically, the residents of the districts are paying for the upkeep. So I have a problem charging them much more than $50 for something.
Yeah, that's fine. I was just curious.
Yeah. So.
But maybe you should ask the AA people for something, possibly. I don't know if they want to. If not, I'm sure, they can still use it, obviously, but
Well, they really like it. They come all the way from Dennis. I'm not sure if they've had people join from Katuitt or not, because, you don't ask, but I think, I thought it was important for us to help them with their medical problem.
I wonder what happened with now that the church is being remodeled. Where do the group that would meet there go?
I have no idea where they're going. There are several groups that were meeting there, and apparently they've gotten word that some of their elevator and something else are going to be delayed for several months. So they'd already
Oh, boy.
taken the heat out, so they have to put in temporary heat.
And Fran, we also have the Boy Scouts who are meeting weekly or monthly.
Weekly, the Boy Scouts meet weekly.
Okay, and they don't pay anything either.
Right. Yeah. So, and I've been trying to get a price on snow plowing for outer land, but I haven't heard yet. I'll keep working on that because our contract was up for that. And that's all at Freedom Hall. The Katuitt School Committee hasn't met. Is there any public comment?
Well, did they meet? They met with the town recently, though? Did they not?
Yes, they did.
The school committee.
Right.
I see Jim Danhauser is here. Did we get a report on that at last meeting? Mark wasn't. This was in the intervening between our last meeting and our
right.
current
Yes.
meeting. Or Tom, were you there at that one? I see Tom Hoppenstead is there.
Yeah,
No.
I wasn't there.
No, Tom's was here before Jim. So did you want to talk to us?
Just in terms of public comment, and maybe it's better to come up in matters not in reasonably anticipated by the chair, but I've been asked by staff at the water department to bring a personnel matter to your attention. And I'm not sure if that's going to require going into executive session, or if you want me to kind of outline what the issue is. Without
Well, there you
using
go,
any
though. We could.
names.
That's what we got. The last open meeting violation was based on who's got the opinion on, is it when is it appropriate to go into executive session for a personnel issue?
Well, since I know what it's about, well, so I
no
don't
idea.
think it's not appropriate for us to talk about it in open session. So we can,
So that's up to you guys, whether you want to do that or, I've been thinking about it today since the request was made, and there might be an opportunity for us just to change the structure of the accounts payable warrants a little bit, and maybe that would help iron things out.
Right now, if we discuss it without, if we discuss it without identifying the individual.
Yeah.
Is that, you don't have to say who in particular.
if it's about the accounts payable, we can discuss that.
Right now, I think it's a weekly thing, right? It was bi-weekly up until August, I believe. And then to make things easier, we were asked to try to get warrants done weekly, which we've been doing. And then there's just communications between people, and that can ruffle feathers at times. And that's where some of the issues lie. But I'm wondering if we couldn't head some of the communications off just by, once we sign off in the secure portal, we the commissioners, if then that goes to Ray and Lisa, or they have access to that, because right now they don't. So it goes back to our office, and then our office makes it accessible to them. And then there's emails between people about timing, and that's been part of the problem. But if they could just access that secure portal, then they'd have the warrants signed off on.
Can I make one
Is it
comment?
Yes.
I just want to correct something. Prior to this is a long, complicated history with these warrants that I spent a great deal of time on. They were only being signed once a month. We
Right.
finally got it to they were being signed more frequently. Now, up until, I can't remember, I don't remember when, but we've been doing once a week for quite some time. And then I believe in the spring, it got kicked back to every 2 weeks. Is that right, Lisa? You don't know, well, but
I'm
You're talking
All
about
sorry,
payroll
Fran,
warrants?
we've
specifically?
always wanted each department to send weekly warrants based on the end of business day on Monday to us. The finance department produces warrants every 2 weeks. But to help with workflow, we ask each department, the fire department and the water department, to send us weekly warrants by the close of business every Monday. This has been a policy that we've had for a very long time. I don't know how it's confused, but it's really straightforward. Every Monday by the close of business, each department should be sending us their accounts payable warrants. That's what we would like. That's all.
thanks.
That's not entirely true though, because in an email from the treasurer to our office, it was said that we were doing them bi-weekly. And that was laid out, and it was on Mondays. It was on the Mondays that there were no payroll weeks, so the non-payroll. And so we did that, and we don't have a problem with the process as long as we know the process. There's no problem
Tom,
with that.
Tom, I think
So I,
my email was speaking to when we issued the warrant issue the checks. So I wanted to alert you that we were not processing for payment weekly. We were processing for payment every other week. We were loading the information into the system on a weekly basis. To produce the actual checks is fairly quick process once you've loaded all the information. So apologies if I didn't make it clear that it was the payment was every 2 weeks, even though we wanted to process every week.
Yeah,
I
because
just
we weren't signing but every 2 weeks. So, right, and we just started signing every week now in August again. And we don't have a problem. Like I said, we have no problem with that at all. That's
Okay.
not what's at issue here.
so has there been, I don't know what you guys, I mean, I understand the basis of what you're talking about, but what is this issue that you're having? The payroll was delayed because of the timing of warrants, or that
Nope.
this is strictly
No.
like a paperwork issue that,
No.
It's a workflow issue, really.
Oh, we should, yeah.
and so the money is not
And
getting to the fire or the water department fast enough? Is that what it comes down
No,
to?
no,
No,
it's fine.
no.
Everything's working great. It's just personnel conflicts is the problem.
I see.
And that's why I thought it might be appropriate to go into.
Which I understand, but I
executive
mean, I don't know. I'm not well versed enough in the law of what is to be in. I mean, I know what we're supposed to talk about in executive session. Seeing as the state attorney general just told us not to do that, I would
So the other
rather
thing-
not do it.
Tom, if
So, I mean-
you prefer to go into this further, we can go into executive session. We have that option.
Well,
I
that's
mean,
why
I
I
don't-
joined the meeting.
And
because I was asked to
Tom,
do that.
Tom, I wonder if this might even be better handled as a internal workflow discussion between myself, you, and Chris.
Well, I know that Chris has talked to you about this prior, and it's been 2 years running now, and it still has not resolved itself.
Oh, I wouldn't say it's quite 2 years.
Well, I've got emails from,
Well, we could have, I mean, also we could have a non-deliberative discussion about this particular topic. There's nothing at some point, not in public.
Yeah.
You and I could, Tom, or whoever's in whatever the issue is. I just,
You can talk to
I don't
Tom.
think we should go into executive session about it, but I'd be happy. I personally would be happy to talk about it.
I would
So,
too.
well, I think Ray's got the best solution, is it for Ray, Chris, and Tom to discuss it. And,
Well, I would request that somebody from the Prudential Committee be involved as well, because I'm not gonna take my time to work with staff members that have tried to work things out and have been unsuccessful for 2 years. So I'd like to have a representative from the Prudential Committee in the discussion as well, so that you guys know what's going
Sure,
on.
give me a date and a time. We'll sit down and talk about it. You can text me or let me know.
Okay. Ray, do you have dates that are better, or times, days and times?
To pick a date, Tom. I'll try to make it.
Okay. Well, we need you.
No, I realize that. I just,
This week's probably out, right?
no,
No?
not for me.
Okay.
I can make most
No,
things
it
this
is
week.
out for me, actually.
All
Oh,
right.
okay.
Next week.
Sorry, yeah.
I'm pretty available,
Next week looks good.
except for a couple of times.
Yeah, Monday is not a good day for me.
Monday, the 31st, not a good day. How about either Tuesday or Wednesday, 1st or 2nd?
I can make it work.
What time?
I'll
is
be
it?
available. Oh, for me, anytime, except for after 2, usually between 2 and 3. That's the only time I have anything, and that's every weekday.
Do you want to meet at like at 3 or 4 somewhere?
Sure.
And should I get Chris involved?
yes,
All right, so
he's a supervisor.
that's correct. So we've got the 2 supervisors there. So that's Tuesday or Wednesday? What did we say?
Tuesday's
Up to
fine.
you.
Wednesday's fine. Tuesday. How about Tuesday?
Yeah, let's do Tuesday.
Yep.
Okay.
At what time?
4 o'clock?
4 o'clock?
Yeah.
Great.
Should we meet at Freedom Hall, or should we meet at the library, or?
Library's fine with me. Freedom Hall, either one. I've got the
It would
key.
have to be.
No.
No,
and
we're
then
all
post-
independent. We're not having a deliberative discussion about.
I think it'd be better at Freedom Hall. Nobody's gonna walk in on you like they might at the library.
Do we know if Freedom Hall's available on Tuesday, the 1st at 4?
Yep, it is.
Let's
Boy
do
Scouts
that.
won't be there till 6.
Okay, it won't take long. All right, and I'll reach out to Chris and make sure he's available, and if not, I'll get back to Ray and Seth with that.
Okay, good.
All right, good, thank you.
Okay.
Thank
Jim,
you.
is Jim still with us?
I'm here.
Hi.
Hi.
Hi,
Your
Jim.
public comment?
Somebody had asked about the school committee.
Yes, your latest. You guys met with Andy Clyburn.
No, Andy
Recently?
was not there. We met with David Anthony.
Oh, David Anthony.
Andy was out of town. Basically, the meeting just said we now have a new target schedule for the process to play itself out. They continue to need to get action by the building committee, the planning committee, to get the property that the town is going to retain approved, because it does not have enough frontage on Main Street to be a legally buildable lot. So that has to be approved by the planning department. They anticipate trying to do that by a process called approval not required. That is the target for that is November and December. And then there would be the conservation restriction document and the transaction would both go to the town council, would be 2 readings in January. We've had timeframes before. They've not been met. We're hopeful that these will be met. There was some discussion about the underground storage tank, which I know Mark Lynch had mentioned at a prior Prudential Committee meeting. And the proposal that was advanced was that the removal of the tank is a problem because the town does not have budgeted dollars for it. It's not a big issue unless there's contamination, in which event it can be a major issue. So what we suggested was that they should empty the tank, and then they should do soil borings down gradient from the tank, which would confirm the presence or absence of any contamination. And if it's confirmed that it is no contamination, then the transaction would go forward without requiring the town to remove the tank. We had some discussions through Ray's efforts with the insurance broker for the district. And it really didn't seem that there was going to be a reasonable way to get any kind of insurance to protect against any liability exposure that might exist. So this is the route that actually came up during the course of that discussion with the brokers and seemed to be the best way to go forward. And I know that Mark Lynch has indicated that he would be in favor of that as well. So, you know, we hope that that's the time frame that we will be able to proceed on. It's totally out of our control. There was no explanation for why it had simply gone radio silent from June to October. I think part of it is just that, you know, the town is understaffed in a lot of positions.
Yeah.
And, you know, staff gets pulled into whatever direction happens to be the crisis of the moment, or the need of the moment, or the priority of the moment. And, you know, that's just the way it happens. But I did speak with Andy Clyburn, who is the deputy manager, and he assured me that they do want to proceed on this time frame and they'd like to make this transaction happen. So we will see.
That's good news. I like the sound of that. Hopefully.
I'll like it better when it becomes a reality.
Yeah.
Well,
right.
yeah, no kidding. Well,
Signatures on a
here
dotted
we are.
line.
Well,
That's right.
it seems like,
Don't
well,
put
we'll
that
see.
in
We'll just
pen,
keep-
put it in pencil.
Yeah, right.
Is there a further meeting scheduled? There's no necessity for one. It just whenever they complete the next step.
It's processes, right? So the conservation restriction has to be finalized. It's being reviewed by the town legal department. There are a couple of elements that need to be finished. I've given the latest draft of that to Mark Boudreau so that he can look at it on behalf of the fire district. It has not changed since the May document, which I know Mark Robinson was involved in the drafting of. There's nothing that we can do from our side. The way it's laid out is it has to be, the A&R has to be approved by planning, then it goes to town council, and then it comes to the Katuitt Fire District to do whatever processes it feels that it needs to do in order to authorize the transaction and go forward.
Very good. What in your opinion, do we need to do when we get to that point? Meeting.
That's why you have Mark Boudreau. He'll tell you what it is. That
No free legal
Prudential
advice
Committee-
from Jim
So,
Daniels.
or the Prudential Committee will decide what it needs to do.
Right.
That's not my bailiwick. Thank you very
I
much.
think we already
Oh,
have
wow.
permission from the district that voted at the school. So
We
I
have told the town that that if we, if it's necessary to have a special meeting of the fire district, that's what we will have. And it will only come after all of the town approvals are in place.
good.
Very good.
That's good. Moving up.
Well, thanks for the update.
You're welcome.
Did I hear they're taking the oil out of the tank?
That's what we asked them to do, was to take
Okay.
the oil out of the tank. That would be the first step in making sure that there's no further risk of contamination, right? Because if the tank is empty, and the soil borings are done and there's no contamination evident down gradient from the tank, then, it's in, we should be pretty comfortable. And ultimately, with whatever decision the district comes to with respect to the building and the property itself, can take the tank out then, because no, they're not going to heat the building. They didn't heat it last year and they're not going to heat it this year.
No. Okay,
And if
thank you.
it comes to the fire district before then, I wouldn't suggest that the fire district would want to heat it either. We're using that system, assuming it could even start again.
Yeah, right. So okay, thank you.
You bet.
The next meeting is the 28th of, would be the 28th of November. Is that
Yeah, that's fine with me.
fine with
It
you?
is.
Lisa, is that okay with you?
Yes, I've
day?
already added it to the website.
Okay. Ray, is that good for you?
Yes, it is.
Okay, great. All right. I'll accept a motion to adjourn.
I move to adjourn.
So I'll second that. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Good to see
Thank
you
you,
all.
everyone.
Thank you all.
See you, everyone.
Night.
See you all soon.